Welcome to my channel. World Scene News. Subscribe to my channel for news updates all around the world. The 2026 FIFA World Cup was supposed to unite the United States, Canada, and Mexico, a historic 48-team tournament showcasing North American collaboration. The united bid promised a festival of football across 16 cities, with Toronto and Vancouver giving Canada a moment in the global spotlight. But as the tournament neared, unity gave way to tension, especially between the US and Canada. Political shifts and protectionist policies have strained the partnership, turning what was once a symbol of diplomacy into a battleground for national interests. The collaborative framework is now under threat, with disagreements jeopardizing Canada's role as host. The world watches as the dream of a united World Cup faces the harsh realities of international politics. As the final details of the World Cup hosting agreement were hammered out, the US delegation presented Canada with a sweeping proposal, one that would fundamentally reshape the nature of their partnership. This was not just about organizing a football tournament. It was a blueprint that reached far beyond the pitch, touching on issues of security, trade, and even national identity. The proposal outlined a vision where the World Cup would serve as a platform for American influence, extending into the very fabric of Canadian society. Stadiums would become stages not only for sport, but for the display of power and partnership between the two nations. Central to the US demands was the unprecedented presence of American security personnel on Canadian soil. The Trump administration insisted on direct control over key entry points, arguing that the safety of American athletes and fans could only be guaranteed by their own agents. But the proposal didn't stop at security. The Americans linked World Cup cooperation to a series of unrelated trade concessions, leveraging the tournament as a bargaining chip in ongoing economic negotiations. For Canada, this meant that the beautiful game was now entangled with high-stakes diplomacy. US corporate sponsors were to be given preferential treatment in Canadian host cities, with American brands taking center stage and local agreements overridden. The commercial landscape of the tournament would be unmistakably American, raising concerns about the erosion of Canadian business interests. Perhaps most controversially, the US demanded authority over visa screening for all international visitors attending matches in Canada. This would blur the lines of Canadian sovereignty, effectively placing a core function of government under foreign control and igniting fierce debate within Ottawa. For Canadian officials, these demands represented an unacceptable intrusion. The government faced the prospect of trading away autonomy and control in exchange for a smoother, more secure tournament, an exchange that many saw as too high a price. Prime Minister Mark Carney now stood at a crossroads. He could accept the US overreach, risking a backlash at home and a loss of national dignity, or he could push back, defending Canadian independence even if it meant jeopardizing the World Cup partnership. The World Cup, once a symbol of international unity and celebration, had become a high-stakes negotiation table. Football was no longer just a game. It was a pawn in a much larger contest of power, influence, and national pride. For millions of fans, the tournament would still be about the thrill of the sport, but for the leaders in Washington and Ottawa, it had become something far more profound. A test of sovereignty, a struggle for control, and a defining moment in the relationship between two nations. Canada made a bold decision, one that would reverberate far beyond its own borders and send a clear message to the world. In a move that surprised many, the Canadian government stood its ground and refused to accept the terms of the US deal, despite mounting pressure from its southern neighbor and the international community. Instead of yielding, Canada rejected the US deal outright, signaling a new era of assertiveness in its foreign policy. The decision was not made lightly. It came after intense debate within Parliament and widespread public demonstrations across the country. Prime Minister Carney's government made it clear that Canadian sovereignty was non-negotiable. They refused to allow American personnel to control Canadian borders or dictate terms that would undermine the nation's autonomy. The government's stance was firm. Canada would not compromise its core values, even under significant diplomatic and economic pressure. The proposal's linkage to ongoing trade disputes was viewed as a tactic of bad faith negotiation, and many Canadians saw it as an affront to their national pride. The idea that their participation in a global event could be leveraged for unrelated political gain was deeply unpopular. Carney, who had campaigned on a promise to defend Canadian interests, drew a clear and unmistakable line in the sand. He declared that Canada would not be bullied or coerced. even if it meant risking its coveted World Cup hosting rights and facing international backlash. The move sent shockwaves through the world of sports and diplomacy, throwing tournament planning into chaos. Organizers scrambled to adjust, and uncertainty loomed over the event's future in Canada. Yet, Ottawa was willing to gamble that standing on principle was worth more than any short-term gain or fleeting prestige. Across the country, many Canadians rallied behind the government's decision. The rejection became a powerful statement of national resolve. Canada would not allow its participation in the World Cup to be used as a bargaining chip in unrelated disputes. The decision was about more than just sports. It was about prioritizing national integrity and self-respect over appeasing a larger, more powerful neighbor. The message to Washington, and to the world, was unmistakable. Canada would not be the junior partner. It would chart its own course, no matter the cost. The World Cup standoff capped a year of escalating US-Canada tensions. The trouble began when President Trump suggested the US could acquire Canada, prompting a sharp rebuke from Prime Minister Carney. Trade disputes, public insults, and collapsed negotiations followed, eroding decades of trust. Trump's administration shifted from partnership to dominance, using tariffs and rhetoric to pressure Ottawa. The diplomatic chill deepened after a Canadian ad campaign against US tariffs led Trump to walk away from trade talks. Carney responded by declaring the era of deep integration over, urging Canada to reduce its dependence on the US. The World Cup dispute was not an isolated incident, but part of a broader strategy to assert Canadian independence. The rejection of the deal was a logical step in a year defined by confrontation. At the heart of the conflict was a bitter trade war. In 2025, the Trump administration imposed sweeping tariffs on Canadian goods, citing disputed security concerns. Canada retaliated, targeting key US products and escalating the economic pain on both sides. The collapse of trade talks led to even harsher tariffs, devastating Canadian industries and straining American consumers. The World Cup proposal was seen in Ottawa as another front in this economic battle, a demand for concessions in exchange for cooperation. Accepting the deal would have meant surrendering in the trade war. Rejecting it was a stand for economic sovereignty. The dispute over football was inseparable from the broader economic confrontation. The World Cup became a symbol of resistance against US pressure. The White House was stunned and furious at Canada's rejection. President Trump, expecting compliance, took to social media to accuse Canada of ingratitude and threatened to move matches to US cities. The administration scrambled to manage the fallout, underestimating Canada's resolve. Trump's negotiating style, successful elsewhere, had met its match in Ottawa's refusal to bend. The public spat turned a diplomatic disagreement into an international spectacle. The episode revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of Canada's political reality and national pride. Canada's rejection has thrown the 2026 World Cup into chaos. FIFA now faces the prospect of moving matches out of Canada, a logistical and PR nightmare. The vision of seamless travel and unity across North America is shattered, replaced by uncertainty for fans and organizers. Disagreements over security and border protocols threaten to disrupt the entire event. FIFA's authority is on the line, as it scrambles to mediate between two key hosts. If Canadian matches are cancelled, the tournament loses cultural diversity and becomes a predominantly American affair. The conflict risks diminishing the World Cup's spirit of inclusion and celebration. The ripple effects could haunt future joint bids and the reputation of the sport itself. The fallout hits fans hardest, especially Canadians, who face losing their moment on the world stage. Volunteers and businesses are left in limbo, while international fans face chaos and uncertainty over travel and visas. The dispute tarnishes North America's image as a welcoming host, replacing unity with dysfunction. The World Cup's spirit of togetherness is undermined by public feuding between hosts. For Canada, it's a wake-up call about the challenges of living next to a superpower. For the US, it's a lesson in the limits of leverage. The fractured partnership is now a symbol of a divided continent. As of December 2025, the future of the North American World Cup partnership hangs in the balance. What was once celebrated as a historic collaboration between the United States and Canada now faces its toughest test yet. The excitement that once filled boardrooms and stadiums has been replaced by uncertainty as political tensions spill over onto the pitch. The world's eyes are fixed on North America, waiting to see if these two neighbors can overcome their differences for the sake of the world's most beloved sport. The immediate priority is clear: get US, Canadian, and FIFA officials back to the negotiating table. The challenge is to separate the World Cup from the broader political disputes that have threatened to derail it. This means putting aside national pride and focusing on the shared goal of hosting a successful tournament. Only through open dialogue and a willingness to compromise can the dream of a united North American World Cup be salvaged. A compromise might involve FIFA stepping in as a neutral mediator, helping both sides craft a new agreement. Such a deal would need to respect Canadian sovereignty, while also addressing the legitimate security concerns raised by the United States. It's a delicate balancing act, requiring trust, transparency, and a genuine commitment to finding common ground. The world's governing body for football has a unique opportunity to demonstrate leadership and bring the parties together. Both sides must set aside animosity and historical grievances for the good of the tournament. The World Cup is more than just a sporting event. It's a symbol of unity, hope, and international cooperation. If the US and Canada can find a way to work together, they'll not only save the tournament, but also send a powerful message to the world about the power of reconciliation. Yet, the damage to the US-Canada relationship may be lasting. This dispute is not just about soccer, it's a symptom of deeper divergence between the two countries. Years of growing political, economic, and cultural differences have come to a head, and the World Cup crisis has exposed just how fragile the partnership has become. Repairing this rift will require more than a single agreement. It will demand ongoing effort and goodwill on both sides. Even if a solution is found, trust will take years to rebuild. The scars left by this conflict will linger, shaping future collaborations and coloring public perception. But with patience, empathy, and a shared vision, it is possible to mend the fences that have been broken. The journey toward reconciliation will be long, but it is not impossible. The crisis is a lesson in the intersection of sport and politics. No event, no matter how global or beloved, is immune to the realities of international relations. The World Cup, meant to unite, can just as easily become a battleground for unresolved disputes. It's a stark reminder that the games we play are often shaped by the world beyond the field. The world is watching. Will North America rise to the occasion and save its beautiful game, or will it remain divided on a fractured pitch? The answer will define not just the future of the tournament, but the legacy of an entire continent's commitment to unity through sport.